Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are new. You are tuning in for a reading that is my absolute number one top requested question that I receive. So it's a reading for those lovers who are in separation. Today, I'm going to look into the energies around your person and you, how they're feeling about you, look at things between you, and really just get a sense for, what this person wants and what they're thinking. We're going to look at what is likely to happen next. We have a lot of folks who are going through this separation period right now, and there are a lot of different moods that I'm hearing. So some people are farther along in their healing after going no contact. Some people, it just happened yesterday. And some people, it still feels like it just happened yesterday. So no contact situations are going to look different for everyone. So this is going to be a pick-a-pile. And of course, they're general readings, so they may not resonate with everybody, but the pick-a-pile gives you a better chance because you can pick the best reading for you. And if you enjoy these videos, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you'll be able to stick with me. So it's time to pick out your pile. There's pile 1 with the rough amethyst. Pile 2 has a citrine, and then pile 3 has a rough fluorite. And again, don't overthink it. Just breathe. Let yourself drift toward one of the piles. Watch more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. So if you chose pile 1, stay tuned. It'll be right up. For pile 2 or 3, check out timestamps down below. So pick your pile and let's get started. Okay, so pile 1, if you picked pile 1, that is the pile with the rough cut amethyst. This is a stone that feels just incredible in your hand. And we are going to read with the Revelations deck. Often maybe you've seen me clarify with this. If I've done readings for you, I use this one a lot. But the Revelations deck, we're going to use this as the lead deck. And then we're going to get clarifications with the Tarot of Dragons. And I'm going to start by looking at that current energy. And it's pretty much where I like to start for all readings. It's just to get that feel for, even if I read for you somewhat recently, it's always to just get that current energy. What's going on now? And this is going to be the energy between the two of you. So it's going to be, it'll be shared. Something that is shared between the two of you. So we have the Eight of Cups, and this is an Eight of Cups in reverse. And so sometimes when you see the Eight of Cups in the upright, it's walking away from something, or it's walking towards something. It can be walking towards something really awesome. So in the reverse here, it can be returning. It could be the two of you feeling like you want to return to one another. But what I feel more here is this sort of, and I felt it in a recent reading when I saw the Eight of Cups in reverse, but sort of an aimless wandering. It's more of that feeling of, but not a super productive one. It's more that feeling of I'm out here and just sort of floating. My foundation is maybe not feeling so strong today, not feeling so strong lately. And so you may be wandering back toward one another, but I would say that feels more like ungrounded. It's more like you just kind of can't believe that you're in separation, still trying to get used to the idea. So we'll get a better feel for that when we go to clarify. But first, I want to understand that current energy around the relationship. And so again, this will be shared. You know how when you watch a tarot reading and they say this energy could be reversed. This is part of why, because you're gathering the energy that's between. You're gathering the energy that's between people, and so sometimes it's going to be a little bit more of them, a little bit more of you. So you're gonna hear some things. It's a single card. All right. So Ace of Swords. This relationship showed both of you some things. Both of you had learnings as a result of this relationship. That is the Ace of Swords, the Sword of Truth. So that is very much new information that, or maybe not necessarily new, but reinforcing information that is definitely true. And there are some things that after experiencing this time with this person, you're not going to be the same. You can't unsee. So tell me about this person and kind of I want to understand this person's perspectives on you and the energy that went between the two of you, how you saw each other. That's really what I want. The energy that flows between the two of you, and more them than you, though. How did they see you? That's what I'd like to really understand here. Is that a single card? If it is, then I just turn it over. Okay, so this is the Justice card, but it's in reverse. So there was something in the way here, or something that was not quite right here. Could be that one or both of you was already in a relationship. That's something that sort of comes off of this card. Basically, that there's not an opportunity to come together as a result of whatever this is. So there's an obstacle that stands in your way. Um, and I'm curious to understand maybe how they feel about this obstacle. So this is how they're feeling about when they think of you, they realize this is somebody that's unattainable. For whatever reason, I can't get to this person and this relationship. The interaction with this person has really just taught me some things. Like there are some things that I won't be able to unsee. But now after this separation, they just kind of feel, you both kind of maybe feel like you're just exploded up and wandering aimlessly, to use the phrase that I used in the other reading. So I want to understand what this person wants. What is it that they really wish could happen here? And we have the Ten of Pentacles. That is about the most, that's about the highest wish they could have of you. So the Ten of Pentacles is the happy family, the happy household that has sufficient resources. They really have everything they need. There is everything that you need from an emotional and a physical standpoint is there. So that's the happy home in the 3D world. I'm curious to understand then what is in the way. So maybe it helps us to get at a little bit what this obstacle is between the two of you, but there's a hidden energy that has led to where we are today. So maybe it's wrapped around some of these truths, but what is the hidden energy that is, it's a single card? Yeah, the Queen of Cups. So that's a deep, deep love. Okay. What I feel here, and I have to get into the feeling in order to be able to tell you about it. And it's so heavy, but it's not bad heavy. It's just ponderous. So there is so much love here. This person doesn't really feel like this is possible. And so they haven't told you about the full extent of the emotion that's happening here. This is just an unbelievable amount of love. And it feels like, it could be mutual. You could love them as much as they love you, but it's amazing. And one of the truths that has come out in this relationship is the fact that you could even feel this way. They want this amazing thing with you, but there's some sort of obstacle that's causing this to not happen. It could be their lack of communication. I mean, we'll look into it as we go to clarify, but there is, whatever it is causing them to actually keep quiet about how strongly they feel. So what's next? What's going to happen next here? And maybe this won't be, the final answer, what happens ultimately between you, but it's just the next step. What can we expect? We see the Queen of Wands in reverse, and this is, so the Queen of Wands in reverse in this context is willing to be a little bit more honest than maybe in the past. So that may be part of what this issue is up here, is that they maybe aren't willing to be super forthcoming with a lot of what they're thinking, a lot of what they're feeling about you, which turns out to be some really intense feelings. But they're going to be able to drop that facade a little bit. Let's clarify. And so, like I said, I'm going to clarify with the Tarot of the Dragons, and this one has some really great imagery. And so we're going to start with the Eight of Cups in reverse and just understand, again, this is that feeling that something is, you guys are sort of wandering around. And I remember when I first saw it, it was that feeling of not having a foundation beneath your feet, because it had been so very blown away by these truths, by this reality, whatever this is that keeps you from being attainable to them, even though, my goodness, they really want it. This is the happy household. That is what they want with you. It really represents kind of both their hopes and fears, because they've discovered, what they want, but they can't have it for some reason. And so there's a separation that's really kind of causing this Eight of Cups in reverse. So let's see what is causing that feeling of wandering, aimless wandering. There's a single card. So this is the Death card in reverse. Something needs to change, but hasn't changed. And it's really just something that the power lies within both of you to make this adjustment, but it's an adjustment that was never made. So that's part of why the foundation feels like it feels like there's not been communication. Honestly, that just keeps coming up for me. There's not been sufficient communication about the level of this love, and it's not understood. We've also got the Fool card here. Wow. So that's jumping off into something new, brand new, willingness. And this is what really brought us to this place. So maybe it was them, maybe it was you. I kind of get the sense it was a little bit of both of you, but you didn't see this coming. You didn't anticipate meeting somebody that made you feel this way. And again, it lends credence to the something is making you unattainable. We'll look into that in just a moment, but there are some truths that, attainable or not, you have shown this person. And there was, at least in the beginning, the inception of this relationship, there was a willingness to kind of jump in, but maybe then it fell short and things just became very stagnant, or they stopped. And there's a change now that kind of needs to take place but isn't taking place. And that's part of what's causing this almost disorientation, sort of wandering away. It's not going toward the thing that you want. It's just going. So let's take a look at this Ace of Swords in the upright, this amazing truth. What came out? Top card, we have the Five of Wands. And so that's a struggle. Something came out. Both of you got triggered in this relationship. That's not necessarily a bad thing. When you hear the word triggered, don't let it trigger you. So sometimes when you get triggered, you get triggered to realize something or to remember something, and sometimes you get triggered to grow. And I get the sense that's what happened here. So that's oftentimes quite uncomfortable. I'll give you that. But let's learn a little bit more. Ooh, hey, all right, that was quick. This is the Six of Swords. This is, you became aware of healing that had not yet been completed. So the Six of Swords in the upright talks about moving into calmer waters from a place that was maybe more difficult, rougher waters. And so in reverse here, it's not having moved into those calmer waters yet. So it's still pretty uncomfortable. This is, I won't say a gaping open wound, or at least it wasn't at the time that the two of you came together, but you became aware that you had not healed from something that happened earlier. And this is also mutual. So both of you have become aware that, and this is what caused the struggle. So there might have been even arguing or difficulty between the two of you. I at least get an extreme awkwardness that comes as you guys go off. So you have your conversation, and then you see each other, and you have this experience where you sort of have jumped off and acknowledged to one another that there's something here. But then you go off and you both get really fearful, and you realize, oh my goodness, they are knocking on a door of something that I've not yet really found resolution for. That's a truth that's coming out for you at this time. And then you start to have the internal struggles, and you start to maybe even have some of those come external to where they become fights between the two of you, or disagreements, at least discomfort and some awkwardness. And so in this, they've somehow come to the realization that you are not attainable, and that this relationship as a result of it feels like a struggle to them. So I want to clarify this justice in reverse and understand why it is here. And we have the Four of Pentacles. Well, they really just want to be able to hold on to you. And I always just grab the top card unless I'm drawn to grab more than that. But the Four of Pentacles, they just really want to hold on. They are not, this is not somebody who is able to release easily, and they don't want to get themselves into a situation that they know they can't really be in. So if you're with someone, if you're with someone else, they know they can't have you. They feel like you're unattainable, or maybe they are unavailable. But either way, this is all unattainable, and it's difficult for them. They want it. Especially because they've got all this love here. They really want it. They want this happy future with you, and they feel like they can't have it. And so it makes them angry. I feel angry out of this, which that's not usually what comes from the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles is like a card of hoarding. It's a card of holding things too close, you know. Sometimes it's like that. In the upright, or in the reverse, it can be one of release. But I don't usually get anger. Like, this person is angry about not being able to have you, and it's come out as some of this struggle that we see over here. We also have the Five of Swords. Yeah, so okay, the Five of Swords is it's like an ill-gotten victory. It's that sense of, well, I won, but at what cost? This isn't a positive thing. So they feel like they didn't take it. They didn't handle something very well with you. So things are unattainable. They're angry about it. It's caused this kind of struggle and almost explosion within them, because it takes place. They realize all this after they've already kind of shown a little bit too much to you, according to them. Now, to you, it might not feel like they've shown you very much at all, but to them, it was way more than they usually show to people. And then they go off and they realize, much like you, that they've still got some things from their past that maybe they need to solve, but it makes them very adversarial. But really what they're angry at is the fact that they can't do this. But they may lash out at you, or they may have lashed out at you. This person may actually have lashed out at you. If they didn't, you might have sensed it was coming, and they might have disappeared in a puff of smoke. Okay, so let's take a look down here at what they want, because here's a person that is no longer in your life, and it may not be super obvious why, but we see that there was a huge internal struggle here that caused them to realize they can't actually have what they want, and they can't cope with that. So their attempt to cope with that actually looks like a big struggle, looks like lashing out. Maybe it looks like completely disappearing and just hiding. But what is it that they are truly, what do they want out of all of this? If they could truly have what they wanted, what would it look like? We know it starts with the Ten of Pentacles, which is that amazing household. We also have the Sun. So this is an opportunity that they don't want to miss. In the reverse, the Sun is a missed opportunity. And remember how I was saying this is a little bit like hopes and fears, because having put themselves out there a little bit to even show the little bit of interest that they showed feels like they've hung themselves out to dry a little bit. And so now they're worried that this is a missed opportunity, and they're messing it up. And every day that goes by, they feel like they're messing it up farther, which you would think would make them maybe pick up the phone and text you. But instead, it's not. It's causing them to just sort of panic and go farther into this energy where they just keep coming back to the fact that this is unattainable, and that they're angry about it. There may even be a little bit of self-blame. There may be a little bit of blaming you. There's a lot of sort of, I'm just going to use the term free floating rage that I kind of feel over here. So let's understand again a little bit more about this Ten of Pentacles, which should be a really beautiful thing, but instead it feels like a threat. So we have the Hierophant in the reverse. Again, they're worried that this is just never going to come to pass. And I want to hold that card up for you again. The Hierophant in the upright, it's a guidance, a spiritual guidance card. It's a card of tradition and sort of reverence. It's in the traditional deck, the Hierophant was originally the Pope, and so that's where you get some of that reverence. It's also where you get marriage and tradition and some of those things. And so here, it's all here. But what we're really feeling here is that sense that it's never going to be that way. This is again that fear. There is so much fear in this person. That's what caused the disappearance, you know. So we're getting ready to look into the, why they're not here and kind of what all has happened, because there might be a couple of unanswered questions. I mean, what I'm feeling here is that the communication has not been real solid, and it's been because of how much emotion is involved here. Like they got let the cat out of the bag a little bit over here and told you some things that did make them they let you know somehow that they were interested, and then they didn't immediately regret it, to be perfectly honest. They did it for a little bit, and then they went off and they realized, hold on, I'm in trouble. I can't actually even do this. And they became adversarial. Like the truths came out for both of you, but their response to it was not especially positive. And then over here, they start to become angry. They start to lash out. Maybe they start to hide and disappear. And it's all coming out of these fears that when I ask what they want, what I find is what they're afraid of. And that's not uncommon, to be perfectly honest. You get a lot of hopes and fears in there. And so they're like, well, I don't want this, and you'll get this sense of desperation. They want the happiness with you, but they feel like there's a missed opportunity and that it could never happen because of the situation that you're in now. And I want to understand a little bit more about this love. This is like undying, unconditional, just the most amazing, pure love. And this is what's hidden. They're hiding it from you. They're hiding it from themselves to a certain degree, but they figured it out up here. They can't really unsee that. And that's why they're not going to be the same anymore after that. So we've got, what do we have? The Hermit. Okay, so the Hermit has them off in their thinking cave, just sort of wishing and trying to figure out what the best way to come about it is. But it's all academic. It's like they'll write you notes, but they're not really sending them, and they don't even think they're going to send them. Let's see what else for this Queen of Cups. She's a very loving queen. So we have the Eight of Cups in reverse again, but this one is the Eight of Cups of return. So remember over here when we saw this Eight of Cups in the reverse, it was I'm not really going towards something, because sometimes the Eight of Cups is going towards something that you love. In this case, though, it's that return. It's that desire to return. So your person is sitting there thinking about it. They really are, that card comes out as I'm sitting here visualizing and feeling them writing you and not sending it, but kind of knowing they're not going to send it. Well, they have a fantasy of it. Deep down, they have a strong fantasy that involves them returning and you accepting them, which is a big fear, because after lashing out to you or lashing out at you over here, and they've displayed their anger in some way that you've been able to see it, and it became a struggle for you. But I don't think they told you this part. I don't think they told you what they really wanted in there. And so how can they be so sure that you're going to be receptive then when they return and say, so I really did like you a lot more than that? And really I guess let's see what's going to happen here, because this is the Queen of Wands of removing masks and becoming more genuine. But what is, we're taking both of these. What are they? Let's see. The Seven of Pentacles, which is a card of investment. And then we've got a card of strength. So this is a conversation that's going to happen. Okay, so I don't know if you're attainable. They may still be in another relationship. You may still be in another relationship, but this feels like a conversation that's going to happen. So there is some reason that the two of you kind of can't be together, and we're gonna have to look at a little bit more of that, because I don't think all of the questions that we could ask for you are necessarily answered here. Because if we go through it, you're sort of wandering around found here in this difficult, I don't want to call it a daze, but it almost feels like a daze when I dip down into the energy. And the two of you have shown a little bit that you are interested in one another. There has been a beginning. This is not something that, even if you never dated, it's not as if the thoughts weren't out there and you guys somehow have communicated this, but nothing was changing. Nothing did change. It becomes frustrating after a little period of coming together and doing something that feels frankly a little bit scary. The truth starts to set in. Okay, so both of you go a little bit farther into, and this is something that happens when you're alone. You go into your thinking and you realize, oh my goodness, this is waking me up in a way and causing fears in me in a way that I maybe wasn't prepared for, wasn't thinking about, didn't see this coming. I keep getting the sense that it was something that you didn't both see coming. And you realize, well, I'm not done with this other problem. I still have some pain from before. And whereas you decide you're willing to overcome it and you're willing to do what it takes to get past that, your person has not decided that. They've become adversarial and they've started kind of butting heads, at least inside themselves, if not with you also, or somewhere in your environment. Like, you may have noticed a turn where this person became decidedly more negative, and it was because things started to feel hopeless for them. There's something that's not right here. One or both of you may be in a relationship that keeps coming to me. Doesn't have to be, but something's in the way. You could even work together and feel like that's a place where you can't be. But they have become angry about it. They want this. They can't figure out how to make it happen. So they've lashed out, or they've completely just puff of smoke, disappeared, gone, But what they really want is this happy household with you. They really want this happy household, but instead you see their fears. I think I've already messed this up. I think maybe I've already lost this. I don't think I can necessarily have this now with you after what I've done over here, where I've become adversarial and I've disappeared, or I've lashed out at you. And otherwise, like I said, you've seen this free floating rage. You know that this is here. You've felt it if you haven't experienced it. And it's partially stemming from this secret feeling that they just are smitten with you. They haven't told you the whole picture here, and they're still feeling that way. Even this is their hidden energy. Even now, in their current energy of sort of wandering, they'd like to come back. They would like to come back out of their thinking cave. We've got the Hermit card here, where they've had some time to think about it and maybe gain a little bit of wisdom now that they're not in the throes of this, because this was very tumultuous for them. This was, and maybe for both of you, it was a little bit like flying over like the Bermuda Triangle, and your instruments start spinning and it's hard to find your direction and things like that. So the more time that you have in separation, the more you're able to say, okay, I've given this a little bit of thought now. Yeah, maybe I can come back. And that's kind of what we see here. Maybe they can come back and be honest, at least, and kind of tell you there's a lot of emotion here. I would like something with you, but the way that comes across, it's not clear to me how you're going to take it. It seems like there is some change that would have to happen in you. Let's look into that in the extended, because they seem to have the fortitude to bring the conversation back to you. But I very much get the sense that, like, you've been hurt in this and you've been working through some things up here, doing the actual healing from the truths that you found within this experience and within the earlier parts of this relationship. So I guess I'd like to understand and look into it, your side, a little bit. What is maybe happening from your side? And then we can also look into what is also happening from their side, because we've got something brewing here. And so it's like you're on one side of the bridge and they're on another side of the bridge, and things need to happen on both sides before you can come across. So maybe in the extended reading, we can take a look at, your side of the bridge and understand where you stand with all of this. And then we'll look at their side to understand where they stand and how they're feeling, and some of what gets them to this point. And then, yeah, let's also look at the bridge itself that does get you guys to be in a place where you can meet in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this reading here, move over to the extended. But I would just say again, if this one resonated with you, please do like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully we'll see you over in the extended. Some of these extendeds have been getting really amazing lately. So if you would like to check some of those out, definitely take the opportunity to do so. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day, and I will see you next time. And now for pile two. So if you chose pile two, that's the one with this citrine, this rough citrine. It's cool. It's the same color all the way through, just like this deck. So I'm going to be reading for you with the black tarot, and then I will use the Prismavisions deck, one of the Prismavisions decks, to clarify. So the first thing that I want to do, we're looking at a situation where we have soulmates who are in separation. So let's get a general feel. What is the current energy that is flowing between the two of you? All right. And so I like to just take the top card here. We have the Lovers in reverse. And so this is a really difficult card. So it is you know, it's got that feeling of love lost, but it also has the feeling of there not being any choice in the matter. So the Lovers in reverse is what comes out for our current energy, which it's just very difficult sort of visual or visceral pain that I feel when I dip down into the energy around this relationship. I want to get a feel for kind of, you know, turning towards your person now. I'd like to get a feel for their thoughts around the relationship, and we may get some of your energy in on this one as well. But just that, oh, the Nine of Cups. This was that wish fulfillment then. This relationship was exactly what they had wished for, what they had hoped for. So we'll learn a little bit more about it when we clarify. But this relationship was really special to them. And now we see the Lovers in reverse, which is that it's not exactly, it doesn't necessarily mean the two of you aren't meant to be. It just really, things are twisted right now, and something is not right. I detect a misunderstanding in here. But when we looked at what was happening with you, just as the relationship was, you were the answer to each other's wishes. So let's get a feel for how they feel for you, or how they feel about you. The Four of Spheres. Well, they don't want to let you go. There's definitely a feeling here that they don't want to let you go. But that feels pretty mutual to me. I think the two of you are not in separation because you want to be, but because maybe it's the way that you feel like things need to be. I guess I'm curious to understand what it is that they do want to be. So we see here that you were their wish fulfillment, and possibly that feels pretty mutual as well. They don't want to let you go, but what is guiding them? What do they want? What does this person wish for with you? So this is the Nine of Spheres. It's like the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Nine of Spheres in reverse is, you know, this is, it's about independence when it's in the upright. The Nine of Spheres in the upright would be about independence. Sometimes it's the single card, but that's not really what it's about right now. It's about that feeling of just having it all together, feeling independent, ready for the world. They're not feeling like that right now, but they wish they were. They think you are. They get the feeling that you are more together than they are, and they wish they could share that with you. I want to understand also kind of what the hidden energy is around this, because I feel this twistedness and this feeling that something has been a misunderstanding, but I also see that they don't want to let you go. They wish they had it together. I'm getting this feel almost of kind of depression and anxiety. not necessarily that they've got this formal diagnosis, but that they're experiencing those things. And that definitely it stems from this feeling that you were the answer to their wishes. So let me look into that that current or that hidden energy to see what's maybe hidden around a corner and hasn't made itself so evident throughout the course of all this. All right, let's see. We have the Three of Wands. So part of, okay, with this Three of Wands, part of the way that it feels or that it makes me feel is that they are not ready for this. So here they would be ready for it. They will have set these wands in preparation, but here they're not ready. They weren't ready for this. They felt like they were caught off guard when they met you and they made a mistake. So we'll look a little bit more into what that is all about here in a moment. But first I want to understand what's likely to happen next with you. So it's not necessarily what's going to be the end result with you, but what is likely to happen next. Just as you're moving through this process, you know, there's this feeling of you guys really having been good together, not wanting to let each other go. But maybe something blindsided you or something happened that maybe it blindsided them. Maybe it's something that makes it evident that not only were they not ready, but then this is the result of them not being ready. So just taking this top card, this is the Judgment card in reverse. So this is kind of a sad card. We need to probably look a little bit more into this because this is them looking at the situation and saying, I don't think I even deserve another chance. So whatever happened here around this hidden energy and in what happened between the two of you, the energy that leads up to all this, they don't feel good about it and they don't necessarily feel like they can come back from that for a second chance. So let's take a look with the Prismavisions deck. So I just have this one Prismavisions deck. There are several of them that someday maybe I will get. But I wanted to take a look at first the Lovers in reverse. So this is our current energy, and if we could just understand a little bit more of what's happening in that current energy with the Lovers in reverse. Well, we've got the World, and this is representative of kind of what brought us in to this place, like what brought us to this energy that allows us to really be in this place where there's no choice. So the World is this happy ending sort of card. It's similar to what this is, kind of like a minor arcana edge of it. The World is a much bigger concept, but it's really just it's the happy ending. It is the end all be all. And you guys may have realized a glimpse of what that could feel like. And maybe it didn't go especially well. You have somebody that wasn't especially ready for it here, didn't feel like they had it together, maybe didn't feel like they had it together as much as you. And then they don't want to let you go, but something's happened that has caused them to. So we know that they felt like there was no choice here. And we have the Seven of Swords that's come out in reverse. So this is not the sort of Seven of Swords that talks about lying or cheating or stealing or anything like that. This is the Seven of Swords that talks about having a plan. And really, in the absence of a plan, you have a person that sort of has panicked and run away, whether they disappeared without a trace or whether they just sort of gradually disappeared and stopped answering messages. And but this is why this is kind of what's brought us to this current energy. So that we have this twisted, sort of misunderstood sort of energy because you guys got a glimpse of this amazing possible future. But then what ends up happening is there's not a plan, there's not a good way to go forward. Things feel too awkward, and your person who feels like they weren't ready for this, they just bail and can't handle it and don't confront it at all. So they're feeling like there's really no chance for them to have a second chance, but they don't want to let you go because you were the answer to their wishes. So let's get a little bit more on this Nine of Cups here and understand a little bit more about what this relationship is and what it means and what it's all about, because that Nine of Cups is just a really happy energy. You guys, okay, so here you have the Page of Pentacles, just taking that top card. And the Page of Pentacles is learning, is a learning card, but it's a youthful, so he's really checking out this pentacle and he's kind of looking at it to see how it works. But while that's happening, you see the vines kind of growing around him. And this is it. You guys were just completely transfixed by one another. And that's the nature. Like when I think of this relationship, I think about, you know, the seasons passing and you're just staring into each other's eyes. You know, it's that sort of magical sort of thing that happened when the two of you came together. And maybe it just felt like a little bit too much for them. So you were, maybe it scared you too. But but I don't see that same sense in you of having run away. I do get the sense that they were afraid you were going to. Okay, we also have the Queen of Pentacles. So they felt very nurtured by you, very safe with you. And, you know, the Queen of Pentacles is an incredibly warm, sort of just nurturing queen. You know, she's very, this is in the material realm. She makes you feel very comfortable, and that's part of what happened here. So you have them completely transfixed by you. You make them feel completely comfortable, and together you are, you know, satisfying each other's wishes, your wish fulfillment for one another. So that's not surprising that they don't want to let you go. Let's see a little bit more about how they're feeling about you. Okay, they don't want to let you go, but they can't see a way for things to go forward, and they're letting their head take over. That's one of the downsides of the King of Swords. Everybody has their good side and their bad side, and so the King of Swords has, you know, part of his darker shadow side is that he will sometimes not be able to take a look at the big picture. He won't be able to take that step back. And it doesn't matter if your person is male or female. It doesn't, gender is completely irrelevant. But with it being this particular king, what you see is he sometimes has a hard time taking a step back and looking at the big picture, and he will use logic over his heart to a fault sometimes. So that's something you have to watch with him, and that's part of what's happening here. Your person is using logic over their heart to a fault. So it's that head over the heart instead of weighing them together and seeing what comes out. Because sometimes it's those less tangible things that help make your decision. So we have the Nine of Wands, because this has been going on for a little while. There's been a lot of caring here and a lot of love for a while, but maybe possibly longer than you knew about it. And so there's probably more to this picture than even what you realize, but they don't want to let it go. They don't want to walk away from this. What they would really like would be to get it together, because right now they're feeling like you have it together a lot more than they do. And as they're thinking through this and sort of, and I do mean thinking through this. So as you're working through this experience, you are maybe working through it and you're seeing the emotions for what they are. You're taking the time to sort through what's happening. They're thinking through it though, more than that. And it's become a more logical type of thing for them. And they're wishing that they had all their ducks in a row. And one of the things you may be coming to that realization of is you're maybe just not going to have that. Sometimes ducks aren't going to get in a row, and that's not something that you can reasonably expect. And sometimes emotions aren't going to get under control either, and they're wishing that theirs would. So I feel that, but I also, okay, so we've got the King of Wands coming out in reverse. They're making the attempt to really control it. It's an intense sort of, I think there was a reading not too long ago. It might have even been one of the extendeds. And so the extended readings are just off the chain sometimes. And I remember, like, there was this sense of somebody put their foot down and said, I'm not going to do this going forward. I'm stopping here. And their foot, like, just totally slid out from underneath them. And they had no control of the situation. And that is a little bit of what I see here. I don't know if it's as publicly embarrassing, I guess, as what this other King of Wands, or with this other energy, I don't remember if it was the King of Wands or not, but what they experienced. But it's that way, you know, they decide that they're, like I said, they're approaching this in a very logical sense, and they've decided that they want to be more together, but they're trying to wrestle it into control, and it's not a single card. Yep. It's not working out. The truth is eluding them. They're having a rough time. There's a lot of struggle here. I'm not sure, you know, I feel like the Five of Wands could have come out. There's a lot of struggle, but it's really inside them, you know. So they're trying to establish control, assert control within themselves, but they don't have that North Star that helps them to decide which way to go. That's what's helping them, or making it difficult for them to get it together, which is what they really want, because they lost it, they feel like, while they were over here being transfixed by you. They were unprepared for it. So let's look into that a little bit more, because, you know, they were unprepared for it, and that made them feel incredibly self-conscious about not having a plan in the face of this, oh my goodness, I'm staring into the eye of the world, and I don't have a plan. I'm just standing here transfixed, which, you know, maybe wasn't as much of a problem, but maybe also looked like them not doing very much of anything. So let's take a look at this Three of Wands in reverse. Oh, we had something pop over. It was some kind of pentacle that popped over and then went away. Okay, we have the Knight of Chalices, which is like the Knight of Cups in this deck. And so Knight of Cups is going to be a flirtatious energy in this deck. It's a flirtatious energy and sort of willing to go out and give things a shot. So you have somebody here that maybe was not feeling like they were in a position to give things a shot, whether it's about actually dating or that sort of thing. It's much more just the leap of faith of being part of an experience with another person. So they weren't ready for opening up as widely as maybe they wanted to once they discovered they were in this position and completely transfixed by you and feeling so safe. Okay, and here we have the Queen of Swords, and that's their response. So their response was really to kind of just cut and run. At some point, something changed. It was like a switch was thrown within them, and they could no longer get closer. At that point, they started moving away. So, you know, for some of you, they might have gone quiet immediately, but for others of you, it might have taken a little bit longer and been something that just sort of tapered off and began to be an uneven sharing of energy, and but ultimately it was them cutting themselves off emotionally because they realized that they were looking into, as I put it earlier, the eye of the world. But that's the happy ending, you know, and they're transfixed by it as they're looking at the situation. But that's a lot for a person to take, you know. They don't want to let you go, but they are very freaked out by it and are, you know, immediately moving into the logical as a result. And that's what you see over here. They're thinking, I just need to get aligned. I need to get myself together. I need to be able to make some sense, but that sense is not coming to them, probably because they're trying so hard to force it. So the next thing that happens here is them, you know, being frustrated and saying, maybe I don't deserve a second chance after all this. The thing is, they can't unsee this situation. They can't unsee what they saw when they were sitting there transfixed. Let's get a better feel for what's happening with this Judgment card in reverse, because this is the Judgment card of second chances, and they don't feel like they're ready for it. That is the same darned Three of Wands. Sometimes I'll get the same card in the same reading and it'll be two different meanings, and I'm not afraid to tell you that. But in this case, it's like an answer. If it could have pulled it out of this deck, it would have. That's the same exact feeling coming off of that Three of Wands in reverse. I am not ready for this. I have not set things in motion for this. I am not prepared, not ready to go. So they're perceiving maybe their distance to go. There it is. They're perceiving their distance to go, to get ready, maybe being a lot farther than what you have or what you did. Okay. Let me straighten these up a little bit, and then let's take a look at everything and just take it in, because here, you know, as they look at the situation and try and decide if they deserve a second chance, because that's ultimately what they're going to do now. You know, they're feeling like, I've got no choice. I had no plan. They bailed. They disappeared emotionally, and maybe physically at the same time. But in any case, that is what that's what ultimately caused you to not be together. And it's really, they look back at it and they don't feel like they deserve a second chance because they are still not ready for it. And they're not even really going after it. So they've got this anxiety issue that I was detecting over here earlier. But like I said, it's not necessarily a diagnosed anxiety. You don't have to have a diagnosis for you to experience some anxiety. They've got it and they've figured out how to dull it completely. And that alone kind of scares them, because all they can really think of when their mind gets quiet is what it was like to gaze into this, and just this amazing feeling of having their wishes fulfilled and having, you know, your beauty and the way you made them feel so safe and taken care of. And so they just were transfixed by it, like I was saying, you know. But that felt a little, you know, it made them feel vulnerable in a way that they did not feel like they were prepared to be. And so you see the retraction of their energy. You see them cutting things off and just sort of really pushing the whole experience away. It's very self-sabotaging if you think about it. But by the same token, again, they don't want to let this go. They just figure it can't happen. And they're thinking that from a very logical perspective, which down here, you see them wrestling for that control with that logical perspective, and really just coming into some difficulty, because this is not the sort of situation where you benefit necessarily from really relying heavily on that logical perspective, because you would always come to this conclusion. You would always decide, I'm not ready for a second chance because I'm not ready for a second shot. And you know, maybe that is true, but it does in no way create a plan to get you ready. The only way to get there is more on the emotional development side. And so I guess that is what your person ultimately is going to have to discover in order to get back to a place where they can even feel this way, and to where hopefully the two of you would be able to reconcile in some way, and at least be able to understand what really happened here, because there's a lot beneath the surface with them feeling like you're more together than they are, and they would really like to be together, with them feeling like they just weren't ready for any of this that was happening up here. And with them feeling like, gosh, I really don't want to let this person go. But I've been doing this for so long, and I just don't think that this is necessarily something that I would be able to, it doesn't logically make sense. So we are going to go from here into the extended. But when we get in there, I want us to take a look at a couple of things. And so what I would really like to take a look at is what is happening with your person, that's going to help them, because there's a big difference between, there's a big gap between where they found themselves almost accidentally and what surprised them, and this this sort of mental trap they've got themselves in where they feel like they're not ready, so they can't get ready. And let's just get a better feel for what's going on there. In the extended, what's happening on their side. Let's also understand on your side what you have to get across, because there is still the question of what you have experienced in all this. And we can see that there's not a choice and that there's a misunderstanding, but what's your take on it, and what do you have to gather from this? So let's understand that kind of for them. What do they have going on there? Let's understand it for you, and then we'll do the bridge, what has to happen in order for the two of you to come together. And so that's what we'll talk about in the extended. Thank you so much for looking at pile 2 with me, and just kind of seeing what was going on there. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe so that we can stay together and you can continue to follow. And I guess other than that, if I see you in the extended, great. If not, then I'll see you in another reading. And last but not least, here we are with pile 3, and this is the one with the fluorite. This is a really cool kind of green and bluish kind of fluorite with a purple line that runs through it. I got it with a couple others, and this was the one that really stood out to me and just was immediately my favorite. So I'm going to read for you from the Tarot of the Divine today, for this third pile, and then I'm going to clarify with the Rider-Waite. So we're going to get started just by looking at kind of the current energy that's flowing between the two of you, between you and your person. If that's a single card, I'll take it. We have the Fool in reverse. And so here is a situation where we know that you are, we know that you guys are in separation, but there's definitely a reiteration of that, and this sort of feeling that things just can't seem to come together right now. And this is a really sad Fool, as a matter of fact. This is the one that feels like it's in separation. I want to take a little bit of time to understand we're going to see some of the background with the Fool energy, but I want to understand a little bit about kind of what's happening with your person and what this relationship meant to them, what it continues to mean to them, because I definitely get the sense this is between the two of you. You have not left each other's minds. Okay, so the Three of Wands. This relationship, and this is a really special Three of Wands because it's not one of those ones where you're waiting for your ship to come in. It's a Three of Wands where you are setting things into motion and you're actively making them happen. So it is very Three of Wands in that way, but it's especially that element of it. And so this really, it's like almost a minor arcana sort of magician's card, because it has that manifester sort of energy and kind of getting things done. Here's a person who's really doing, they're not just dreaming about something, they are doing it. So let's get a feel for how this person felt and feels about you, how they saw you. And I have, I'm just kind of curious at what exactly. And so we've got the Ace of Wands in the reverse. And so that is a passionate new beginning that can't happen for some reason. And that's interesting because I was almost feeling like it's why can't this happen was the energy that wanted to come out. And I thought, well, that's really interesting, because what I want to understand is, what are you to this person? And it was already coming out as that something that kind of can't happen. So it can't be this new beginning. They're still sort of moving toward it, but it can't be, but they want it. This is a really sort of, it's a difficult quandary. I can feel the energy of it as I dip down into it, because this person has simultaneously been running towards this and away from it really at the same time. So I guess I'd like to understand what it is that this person wants. What is it that drives them in this? And it could be hopes or fears. Let's see here. And we have the Seven of Cups in reverse. Okay, so this is interesting. The Seven of Cups in the upright is it's about options, but it's also got this dreamy sort of element to it. And some of these options are better than others, and some of them don't necessarily look like what they are. In the reverse here, your person wants certainty. They want to feel like they've looked at something here, they've moved towards it, they felt like maybe it's a little too good to be true. They still want to move toward it, but for some reason that they're not. And that's what we'll look into here. That's kind of the hidden energy that I want to look into, because I get the sense, like I said, that they're both running toward it and they're realizing that they can't have it at the same time. There's very much of that magnetic sort of energy, and they want to feel like they can. They want to feel like things are clear. So what is it that's kind of getting in the way here? What would make them feel like they've got to move away from something, and that it can't happen? They also want to move very much toward it. It's multiple cards. So if multiple cards hit the table, I don't take them. If it's just one, I'll take that. If I've got several that turn over, I just take the top one. So I've got the Knight of Swords here in reverse, and the question was kind of what's in the way of it. So the Knight of Swords is really passionate, forward action, decisive, thinking sort of action and moving forward. Here's a person that's feeling like they are paralyzed. They can't move forward. So that's why they're unable to have the passionate new beginning with you, because they feel like they're unable to move forward despite the fact that they feel like this is the relationship where that's supposed to happen. They just wish things felt a little bit clearer. Right now, there's a lot of longing between the two of you. So that's interesting. That's a lot of passion that is contained in a swords card, because a lot of times, you think passionate forward action feels like a Knight of Wands to me, but this is like a Knight of Wands carrying the sword, because it's thinking, but it's also a lot of that passion that I feel is bleeding from this card over here. But let's take a look at what's likely to happen next. And so again, this isn't necessarily the ultimate outcome for you guys. It's that next step. What's likely to happen next for the two of you? So we know that you are not in communication right now, but did I see one turn over in there? Felt like I did, maybe. Okay, so we know that you guys are not in communication now. We've got the Two of Coins. Okay, so things coming a little bit more into balance, and this is almost kind of a struggling sort of balance. So it's not, again, it's not that end all. It's the place that you guys maybe take a step. And so we'll we'll get a couple of clarifiers and see if we can understand kind of what's going on with that. But let's clarify first this Fool up here. So this one felt very much like this is not going toward each other, but not because you're not thinking about it. Both of you are thinking about it constantly. And so clarifying with the Rider-Waite, let's see what comes out for that. And this is for that Fool card in reverse. What is this longing? It's like that this current energy is a lot of longing and almost like a Six of Cups sort of energy, where you're thinking about the past, but thinking about the past together in this case. An awful lot of that nostalgic kind of feel to this energy. I don't know, maybe we don't need more clarifier. Let's see, we need the Magician. So the Magician is telling us that you feel like your hands are tied. You guys can't move toward each other because maybe they've stopped talking. You don't feel like you can say anything else, and they've stopped coming toward you because they've basically snapped or given up. I don't want to say snapped because that gives the wrong impression, but they've given up for this thing that they feel like they can't accomplish, and they've been sort of chasing it, but they feel like they can't chase it. Let's see, is that a single card? It is. All right, and we have the Emperor. Wow, so the Emperor in this case is almost that, it's that father archetype and that feeling of control, but it's also a feeling of comfort and feeling of safety. And so the two of you are feeling like you can't come together, but you also are feeling like there's almost this overarching protector. it almost feels inevitable. Inevitable is the word that I'm looking for. So I want to clarify the Three of Wands here, because this is wild. This is basically your current energy. You feel like you have faith that you're coming back together. This is absolutely not what I usually get off the Emperor card. I am describing like 6 other cards in here, but what I feel like, and I think it's coming from that father safe archetype, but the two of you are really, you're still looking back in each other's direction. You still are very much missing one another. You don't feel like you have the tools to bring it together, but you also kind of feel like there's this inevitability to you that could end up bringing you together anyway. So if we move over to clarify this Three of Wands, remember, this is how your person was viewing the relationship itself and was kind of feeling like they were trying to make it happen. They were trying to manifest it. And there was an incredible amount of happiness in here. So you guys, I feel like that was mutual, but you guys were making each other really happy, and you made this person happier than maybe they had ever been. So that is a really serious, really significant sort of feeling that's going on there. And they no wonder they wanted to move toward it. They absolutely wanted to move toward this incredible happiness that they had. Oh, I dropped one. And it was more than one, and it dropped face down. What else about this Three of Wands? Tell us more about this Three of Wands and how your person viewed the relationship. They didn't feel like they were... that they had put in their own work in themselves just yet to get to that relationship. And we see that, so we see that here as well. They wanted clarity. This is maybe where it speaks the loudest, though, where there was that hidden energy of them feeling like they couldn't spring forward, they couldn't jump in and do what needed to be done here. And it's because they lack that self-mastery. So they wanted to move towards you, and they felt like, for, you know, the most part, that they were. You made them incredibly happy, but there came a point where they didn't feel like they could go forward anymore. They didn't feel like they were going to be able to do that successfully, and they just felt like this was something that, you know, wasn't going to be able to happen. So let's take a look at that Ace of Wands in the reverse and understand a little bit more about this. Why was it impossible to have this new beginning, this passionate new beginning? And so we have the Ten of Cups because it seemed too good to be true. So the Ten of Cups is like this beautiful wish fulfillment, beyond wish fulfillment sort of card. But it's also, I like to call it like that social media post that is really can't possibly be that great. And then over here, we've got the Queen of Wands, in reverse. And so this one is about, this Queen of Wands is actually about passion. And so here you've got this person feeling like they can't have this passionate new start because the fact that this all seems too good to be true absolutely causes them to sort of back away and mistrust. Okay, so they have a mistrust here in anything that looks like it's this good, and this is kind of what caused them to feel like this wasn't possible to have this fresh new start or this passionate new start for you. And then, you know, the next thing we asked here was, so what do they want? Because it gets a little confusing in here. It doesn't seem like they've really told you what it is that they want or what it is that would make them happy. You are the thing that was making them happy, and actually you're both making each other incredibly happy. You have this relationship that just feels like it's inevitable even now, but just that sense of feeling like this is too good to be true. I don't trust it, you know. What they really want is some clarity, and they want to understand, like, I feel like this person could almost come back and ask you for a second chance if they felt like it was clear. They want clarity, but they don't feel like they have it. So let's look a little bit more into that. Tell us more about your person not feeling like they have clarity. I thought that was going to turn over, but it didn't. Let's see here. We have the Death card. Okay, so Death is, of course, not about death so much as it is about change and transformation. And this is part of what's happening with your person. So this is a person who has some big fears, and there's the healing. They have some big fears that they need to be able to get past, that we see over here, that just totally quiets them. It makes them, and not quieting them like in a calming way, but it makes them quiet. It makes them feel like they can't move forward and do something, and it totally just, it makes them feel like they can't move. So this person feels like when they see something that's too good to be true like that, they just sort of lock up. All of a sudden, everything gets really quiet. They wish they had clarity. They wish they could see this change. They don't want to lock up like this. They want to heal, and not have this thing that's like a chink in their armor that causes them to sort of freak out and not be able to move forward, which is sort of what's happened here. Your person has more or less backed off and frozen. Like, you've got the option when you get into a situation, you can fight. It's fight or flight or freeze. And your person has sort of done the third option here, and with the freeze. And so they are unable to really enjoy all this happiness. This is that lack of self-mastery they feel they have, and they're unable to chase this down and go after what they truly want, because they have this tendency to lock up. And they locked up because things look too good to be true, and they just kind of couldn't believe it. They're like, there's no way, there's no way. All right, so let's look at this Knight of Swords in reverse and understand. Oh, all right, we've got one already. We have the Knight of Wands. And so this Knight of Wands, well, the Knight of Wands in general is a passionate forward action. And so remember, we felt Knight of Wands in this Knight of Swords in the reverse as part of kind of what was missing. So the passion is there, but the willingness to move forward and make a decisive action is really not. So if we needed any more clarity around the fact that the passion is there, because we see it, but we also see that the passion has a tendency to get cut off when there's a lack of trust here, because things look like they're too good to be true. So the passionate new beginning cannot happen. This person is they lose their curiosity when they get scared, and they suddenly, they can't get any closer. And so we have here the Strength card. And the Strength card, I'm fond of saying, never happens really in a vacuum. The Strength card happens because there is a fear to be overcome. And this fear is the thing that is keeping this Knight of Swords from doing his effusive action. He's definitely got the passion, but he quells it, and sort of his brain stops him. He sees something, looks too good to be true, doesn't trust it. This can't happen. And so it's because of this chink in his armor that he knows about it, and he wishes he could solve it. That's kind of what's creating the issue. So let's look now at what's going to happen next, because we actually see some balance coming. But it's a juggly sort of balance. So what exactly has to happen here? What is this juggly sort of balance that's coming both towards you guys as a next step? So we see the Empress. Okay, and we want both of these cards. So every once in a while, I get more than one card, and I take more than one card. This was about perfect. And so here's the thing, though. You've got balance coming your way. There is a second chance, because this is not a situation that's too far gone. Sometimes when you look at lovers in separation, things are so far gone that they're going to have a very hard time coming back across the bridge toward one another. But I don't necessarily get the sense here. I think here that both of you would like to have that balance. You would both like to have that second chance and that opportunity to reunite, and at least make sure that you're on the same page. I also get the feeling that after some of the dust has cleared here, that's going to become incredibly possible, because we've got the Empress energy, and that Empress energy, whether it's you or them, is really just sort of feeling solid in the situation, and like you're going to be able to come forward and do whatever it is that you need to do. So that's a big shift from what we see over here, where the two of you, there's this longing sort of this longing sort of energy and this feeling like my hands are tied, I can't move forward, but yet there's this inevitability that sort of gives you this sense of faith. So you know that this next step is coming. That brings you a little bit closer and at least gives you that opportunity to have the conversation, because so far what's happened is you guys had a great time. You guys had a really fantastic relationship, really fantastic union. They wanted to move toward you and they saw this as something that could build, that was just so happy, but there's something in them that really makes that difficult, and they know about it. Like I said, they want clarity, they want to do that healing, they want to change that thing in themselves that causes them to quell what they really want. So they have the passion to go forward. They're ready to go, but something gets in their way and just sort of locks them up. And that's really what's happened here. So at the base of it, though, you've got somebody who saw something that seemed too good to be true. So this relationship with you that feels inevitable just feels, it seems too good to be true. And so they didn't trust it, and they decided that this couldn't possibly happen, and they went away. But it looks like there's an opportunity here. So they would like to come back and have this conversation and find some balance with you. But it looks like you are also going to be finding that balance, because I get this sense in here so much. I said before, this Empress could be you or them, but I feel like it's you. And I feel like the fact that you bring that steady Empress energy is what allows them to come back and overcome some of this. And so what I'd like to understand now as we move into the extended is really, how do we get to this part here? So what I was doing with the other two piles, and I want to continue on with this, I want to look at what's happening with you. So here we have you, you're getting past some sort of hump, some sort of lesson that allows you to maybe be more receptive to crossing this bridge, to have another try with this person. This person is also having this chink in their armor needs to be repaired. And so they are working on that. And you know, hopefully that's what they're able to bring as the two of you come closer together. But what exactly does that look like? So we know what triggers it, but what more can we learn about that? And then that bridge itself, like what has to happen in order for the two of you to have some success? When you come together here, for sure, that Empress energy is going to be part of what could bring you success. And the fact that the two of you are willing to entertain the thought of at least coming together and having a conversation, those are the beginnings. And this is the next thing that's going to happen, that the energy wants to happen for you. But let's take a look at it going a little bit farther. So we're going to look at your side of the bridge, we're going to look at their side of the bridge, and then we're going to kind of look at what it looks like, what has to happen for the two of you to come back together and what that might look like. So thank you so much for sticking with me here with pile 3. If this one resonated, please do remember to like and share and subscribe so that we can stick together. And then I'll see you over in the extended reading, or I will see you at a reading in the future.